Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to present to you the seed paper about entrepreneur organization called Adaptation or Persistence, Emergence and Revision of Organization Designs in New Ventures, written by these four authors. Oliver Alexy is currently working as a professor of strategic entrepreneurship at the Technical University of Munich. He's had several publications. His current research interests are, for example, innovation strategy, open innovation, and organization design. Katharina Poetz currently works for the Parliamentary Administration of Vienna. She is an alumni at the University of Vienna and her research interests are in strategic management. The third author is Phanish Puranam, who is a professor of strategy and organization design at the International INSEAD Business School. He is currently working at the school's campus in Singapore. He acquired his PhD in 2001 in Pennsylvania, and his research interests include non-hierarchical organizations, informal organizations, and self-assembling organization architecture. Lastly, Markus Reitzig is a professor of strategy at the University of Vienna. He is also a visiting professor at several universities, including the INSEAD Business School. He acquired his PhD in 2002 in Munich. He's had several publications and media appearances. His research interests include business strategy and organizational design with a focus on innovation and technology. This paper includes a longitudinal multi-case study and was published on the 26th of February 2021 online in Articles in Advance in the journal Organization Science. As of now, the paper has been cited once, and the journal Organization Science is a well-recognized journal in the fields of strategy, management, and organization theory. The impact factor of 2019 was 2.79, and the VHB rating is A+, meaning it's a very established and well-recognized journal. The authors were motivated to find out more about when organization design change happens and when it stays the same, because there hasn't been much prior research on persistence yet. They also realized there hasn't been much research on the specific events where organizations decide whether to change or not. So this paper also intends to elaborate the imprinting effects on logics of organizing of the founders. So the authors introduce the theoretical impulse of how, when, and why organization design change happens and when it doesn't. Let me first introduce you to the paper's hypothesis and framework. The authors focus their research on the founders' logics of organizing and how it influences the initial organization design. Founders have certain principles about what the right way to organizing a company is, like role structures, procedures, governance, and so on. They usually acquire these through former job and work experiences, and these logics are, to say, embedded in the founder's way to organize and think. Furthermore, the authors have identified 5 elements in the organization design. First, task division, so basically what tasks they have to handle, task allocation, who is doing what, reward distribution, how the members are motivated, information exchange, how the members are being coordinated, and exception management, so basically how the company handles exceptions, meaning if a team member is not working as expected, for example. Organization design describes the rules, rights, and responsibilities and offer principles, solutions for all acting members of the company. The authors suggested that there was an imprinting effect of the founders' logics of organizing and principles on the business model and the initial organization design. If there are no alternatives and no constraints, the organization design will remain unchanged. The question is there a linkage between the performance feedback to the companies and the organization design and its change? For the research, they collected data from 8 young IT ventures with a variety in team compositions. They differed in team sizes, founders' backgrounds, familiarity between members, and business plans. 3 companies were in the early stages of their business model. 2 were pre-registered startups with products on the market. 1 was a registered firm, but they were still finalizing their product. And 2 were advanced companies with a market access. For their data collection, they looked into internal and public documents of the ventures like business plans, websites, team histories, and social media accounts. The authors also visited the ventures' offices, events, coaching sessions to analyze any design changes. Lastly, they conducted semi-structured interviews with the founders and employees and their perspective on organization design changes within their companies. The authors collected a total of 129 incidents, from which 8 were team formations and 121 were feedback incidents. 65% of the feedback incidents were related to the viability of the business model. These incidents happened whenever the founders seeked opportunities or information from their mentors or incubation programs, and 35% of the feedback incidents were related to internal errors of the organization design, like cooperation problems with co-founders, employees, or freelancers. These feedback incidents led to updates in organization designs, in task division, task allocation, and reward distribution the most. So organization design changes were very common in the observed ventures, since no more than 3 initially chosen solutions were preserved. However, the changes were made a few at a time and seen as approximate to the feedback incidents. Regarding the logics of organizing, the authors recognized a pattern in the founders. The more abstract the principal design was, the less amenable it was to change. Most founders entrenched their logics of organizing, meaning they still went back to their initial design even after changing it. The second behavior they saw was extension or reinterpretation of the original design, and only 2 cases completely exchanged their principles and design. So how the founders react to possible change is influenced by their prior beliefs and logics of organizing. 53.7% of the cases had potential change, but even after the feedback incidents, it had no to little impact on the founders' logics of organizing, since it challenged their beliefs and ideology. So the design solutions might have changed, but the logics of organizing and the founders' principles haven't. In 44.6% of the cases, the founders reviewed their original organization design and reflected on their logics to detect any missing opportunities or alternatives. So they kept their initial principles, but either extended them or interpreted them more loosely. As I mentioned before, there were only 2 cases who had a complete exchange of logics and solutions. The authors concluded that there was a clash between prior beliefs and the feedback. However, the founders didn't risk a complete change since they only drew on known or previously mentioned alternate principles from their team members. So the strength of belief and the power of the feedback definitely plays a factor in exchange. Power of feedback basically means if a feedback is threatening enough for the organization's existence, it will trigger a bigger change. Also, the feedback has to be strong and rich in terms of information and opportunities, so the willingness for alternatives is higher. The strength of prior beliefs is high if the initial organizational structure is clear and established. If this is the case, it will less likely lead to change. Defined principles and limited alternatives also fuel the strength of prior beliefs. Here you can see a model on how the strength of prior beliefs and power of feedback influence and determine the direction of the founders to change. After the results of the research, the authors were able to extend their former model. Now the severity of the feedback incidents play a big factor, as well as the strength of initial beliefs. So if the feedback incidents were strong and severe enough, as well as if there was a weaker belief in initial logics and principles, the founders were more prone to extend or exchange their logics of organizing, therefore reshaping them and adapting the organization design. The study had the typical limitations of a qualitative research. The authors also recognized the possible influence of the specificity of the cases on the results, since the chosen ventures had similar cultural and institutional background. It could have influenced the imprinting of the founders. Additionally, the influence of entrepreneurial and organizational trends play a big factor in organizational designs and structures. This paper definitely gave an input on how organizational design evolves, and with further research, founders and organizations can be more aware and reflective about structures and design solutions and its importance. Development of tools and techniques could help founders to experiment with different design solutions and find a balance between strategy and structure. I think it would also be interesting to see a comparison between founders' logics of organizing from small ventures, so entrepreneurs, and big conglomerates like managers. I think it's also interesting to see the influence, or how big of an influence, cultural, environmental, or even biological factors play on logics of organizing of founders. That's it from my side. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I see you guys on Wednesday. Bye!